I still can't get over the fact that someone gave me the keys to a giant warehouse to build my dream bike park. The shred spot is actually starting to take some shape now. Last week, we made our first feature, Large Marge, which is about a 2-foot high box by about 8 feet long. Very foundational, you can do pretty much every trick, and it will link to every other feature that I'm gonna build here. Today, we're gonna build triangles. They're essentially giant sawhorses about 3 feet tall with a top width of about 4 to 6 inches, depending on how smooth we cut the actual angle at the very top. Now we're actually gonna make 2 separate triangles, same size and everything, but there's a lot of math that goes into making these things just right, because what we wanna be able to do is put them next to each other and then be able to set the bike on so the wheelbase touches the 2 points. I'm gonna use it to balance both wheels on there. I'm also gonna jump back wheel on both points. There's a lot of different things that you can do with triangles, and they'll be a good addition to the shred spot. I'm certainly in over my head, definitely not a mathlete by any stretch of imagination, so I'm gonna need some help for this one for sure. I wonder if Evan's still available. Let's see.
Dude.
Evan is back and not a moment too soon. I have a feeling I'm gonna learn quite a bit on this build. In fact, we're starting off with a refresher on trigonometry. Oh boy. How's this work?
So if you remember your trig from high school or middle school, I don't know, whenever we took trig, you dictate 2 sides.
Math is so hard. What is he even doing? I used to space out so hard in math class. Space. Elon Musk is going to space. I wonder if I could hitch a ride and be the first person to ride bikes on Mars. It'd be so rad. Remember that time he sent that car into space? Wait a minute. Did I leave an open Red Bull in my car?
And then so now we know what that angle is. So now I know it's this whole.
This is so much math.
Yeah.
Look at this. My brain was fully melted after that trigonometry lesson, so I did what I do best. I grabbed a camera and stayed out of the way. Evan let me drill a bunch of stuff together, and I let him cut all the angles and all the lengths for everything that we needed for these triangles. We made a pretty good team, if I do say so myself. Then came the fun part. I was convinced that these triangles were already overbuilt even without the plywood, just like everything else we've built in the shred spot so far. I gave him a test, and sure enough, I was right. Super sturdy. It works. Construction on number 1 is complete. Now it is time to unleash the primer Gremlins to get this thing all coated up. So Evan and I were able to put together that first triangle, but we ran out of time to do the second triangle, which left me alone in the warehouse to attempt to make a second triangle all by myself. Thankfully, I was paying attention for most of the build, and I knew what I needed to do to get it built, but there were a few things like tacking on the bottom that I didn't actually see him do because I was doing something else, and so I had to kind of figure out my own way to get it done. In the end of the day, it looks almost identical to the first one we built together, so I must have done something right. We're gonna take a quick break from me embarrassing myself with power tools to a new kind of embarrassment. The internet has spoken. Last week I did an Instagram poll to see whether or not I should hang this photo, which is my senior graduation photo, which my mom actually had on the fireplace mantle in our house for way too long. Now that I have the shred spot, she thought this would be a great place to hang it up, and the response was unanimously to hang it. So, this guy is going up on the wall. I'm so unsatisfied that I have to do this. I'm wearing tights in this, you know? Really sets the tone for this place. I hope you're happy, internet. It's so bad. Okay, back to our build. Now we have 2 triangles and it's time to get them fully painted. I let the primer Gremlins decide the color for the triangles, and of course they couldn't decide on just one color, so the outside is gonna be blue and the inside is gonna be green. We're gonna paint it up together and then they'll be ready to ride.
The last thing I need is for this top bit to be slippery. So I'm adding the same thing that we added to the top of large marge. It's basically this anti-skid additive that you pour into the paint. I actually just pour it on top of the paint to make sure I get as much out of it. It turns the top of the surface into basically like a skate deck. Super grippy, lots of traction. It worked great on large marge, so hopefully it does the same here for these triangles. Success! I would love to introduce you to Pointdexter and Spike, the latest addition to the Shred Spot. They're identical twins and they're ready to ride. Let's do this. The first session with Spike and Pointdexter is in the bag. It went exactly as I thought it would. They weren't tipping or rocking or moving at all, really, probably because they're slightly overbuilt. But they're a great addition to the Shred Spot. I'm happy to have them here. I'm happy to practice on triangles like this because they are kind of terrifying to ride. And the more I ride it, the better I'll get at it and the more stuff I'll be able to do with them. So exciting to have these two identical twins in the warehouse, and I know that it's just gonna be even more fun. Just another obstacle here that I can ride and have a good time and create lines and do different things with. So welcome to the Shred Spot, Pointdexter and Spike. Now I'm not gonna do a gap tutorial on these two triangles. There is a gap tutorial on the channel, but what I am gonna do is start a Twitch channel. It'll just be twitch.tv/lutzetime, where I'm going to do tutorials and answer questions in real time. So if you have a question about trials riding, you wanna learn a specific technique, come over to Twitch and meet me there, and I'll be there every Thursday morning from 5:30 until 8. I'll answer any questions you have. We can go through tutorials point by point. I can try to answer any other questions that you might have about trials riding or building out a ridiculous warehouse. If this is the first time you've seen anything from the Shred Spot, definitely dive back in and check out some of the other stuff we've built for this place. And if you have a suggestion for the next feature we should build, definitely leave a comment down below. And check out the video to see how we made large marge, the big yellow behemoth over here as well.